Well, hello, Internet. Welcome back to Beachside. I am here with my son Malachi, my brother Dan. I'm here with Ted.
I'm back on. You're back on.
And welcome to Beachside Tech Talk.
You're good.
Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk here at KOMY 1340 AM, Home Schoolhouse Radio. Malachi, it's Home Schoolhouse Radio. It's a nonprofit local community radio station.
Very unique.
Last time that you and I were here, we had two other high school kids that are athletes come and share.
It sounds very fun.
So this is our segment on AI. Why don't you start us off?
Well, I've had the thought this entire time that your beard looks absolutely glorious right now.
Well, that's nice of you.
I
My beard.
I just really wanted to say that those new headphones pairing really well with the straight beard.
I'm pretty sure he consulted AI to get the best possible beard.
He
for his
spent
shape and
A
face.
long time. Yes. It looks
This
amazing.
beard-
Little does
this beard
anyone
didn't
know
take
that
time.
that is that it's working so well, but it's really not hair. We designed that in 3D printed.
Yes, this is all.
3D printed it in hair onto his face.
Spider silk right there.
There is always hope.
Teddy, you had some beautiful dance moves earlier. I was enjoying watching that. Thank you.
Yeah, and that little jingle at the beginning, which was
I know.
also
Do,
AI
do, do, do,
inspired.
do.
Just brings out the inner
Oh yeah.
non-dancer in me.
So yeah, AI segment. What an amazing thing. I mean, how much are you using it during the day? Is it encompassing too much of your day? Is it a novelty? Are you using it for work? Really, where has it touched onto your life? That would be my question out there, everybody, because there's such a huge bell-shaped curve that we can kind of unpack this, from just, what, give me a good spaghetti recipe for the day, all the way down to build me a spreadsheet, pie chart, Gantt chart, table formats, and all of that stuff. And then after you get your response or output, having yourself think, that's nothing that I wanted. Okay, let's start over again. So are you using it novelty wise? Are you using it to engage in your life? I think that's where we're trying to talk about this segment. How can we have it be an actual modifier and help us create our better selves? Ian, you were talking about having that trip down in Big Sur last week. Were you able to use any AI when you were down there? Maybe on some off time, even at the night?
I didn't really look at my phone.
Awesome.
I just basically, my phone stayed in the cabin. I never had my phone with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have reception down there?
A little, enough. Like if you really were desperate to be connected, you could. But
Yeah, I like to go to camping places where there is no reception.
yeah, there's basically.
And if
no
I go to
reception.
some place where there is reception, I pretend there isn't.
That's actually smart.
Yeah,
Like, turn on Do Not Disturb.
Turn it totally off. Yeah.
How about for you, Nigel? Is there a camping? Is that part of the culture there in Florida? Or how about when you were back in Brooklyn? Is camping over there on the East Coast like we do?
Camping in Central Park.
A lot of people camp here in the West Coast.
I'm going to say something that's not going to be. Yeah, it's called homelessness. That's what would be the camping in Brooklyn, because that's what we would have. There's no, yeah, basically. But yeah, NYPD is not too fond of people just setting up tents. It just doesn't work that way. But no, like I didn't grow up doing camping at all. I was more, concrete jungle kid. Books, and that was my jam. For the most part, but I do love Big Sur. Only visited once, but I love it. It reminds me of Trinidad, actually. The way the water is and what have you. I think it's a very serene, peaceful place that I didn't get to camp there, but I did get to go to Bay. It was very, very nice. Loved it.
Yeah, we've our family's been camping there for half a century, almost every summer. So we're very familiar with it. So it definitely feels like a second home for us. And after doing the big event in Manila, Philippines, 3 weeks ago, and after doing the big event in New York 2 weeks ago, there's a lot that goes on with gathering people together, a global community around these tech ideas and these tech businesses. And so breaking away, I think, was quite nice. I was very grateful. I have a very busy next couple of months, unfortunately, just being home, but I have a lot of responsibility. And so it was nice to just get away, recharge, be with the family. It was actually my wife and our youngest son, their first time ever camping. So in the Philippines, yeah, Philippines is not, yeah, camping's not really a common thing there. And it's different. It's a different type of camping than what we do here in Central California. So they were totally so excited. It was such a fun experience for them.
Yeah, I love camping. I mean, you spent in your life probably around an entire year down in Big Sur.
Yeah, probably just about that, because sometimes we do 2 weeks at a time. When you talk about AI integration with camping presently, I mean, I think one thing that people are using AI for with camping is going on to a chat GPT or a Grok, whatever your preferred AI tool is, and asking it to help you with preparation. Like, hey, we're going to this place camping during these dates. It's happening in 2 weeks or in 6 months. Help me plan. Help me plan our meals. Help me,
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you say that because I did notice when you took the trip down to Big Sur, I saw some of the reservations, and they have the Reserve America that is actually just now trying to implement some sort of automation into the reservation packages because they're still having problems with overbooking. Like there's something pops up to where a site might get double booked.
right.
But just the speed, Reserve America is probably one of the biggest camp reservation sites that there is. It's like all over the country. So they're actually able to start implementing some of these tools to help automate the flow and not have so much, pushback. Because imagine, showing up to a campground somewhere and you got all your stuff with you, and all of a sudden there's a problem with two people on the reserve site. So
Right.
I think they're plugging it in, as far as that. But I think even coming back more locally and into community, I know that local coffee shops are starting to. I don't remember names, but I do know that there's Westside has a coffee shop that's starting to try to implement NFTs into their QR code, and then give maybe a 20% off on your next cup or something. Reward package for their valued customers. Everybody, I think, might remember that most coffee shops would have a business card that they would click, and after they clicked it 10 times, you got your free cup. So just, slowly but surely it's moving into an automation situation. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's inevitable. There's the whole idea of digital tokens replacing membership cards, replacing receipts, replacing anything around coupons. It's totally inevitable. 100% that is going to be the reality of the developed nations very soon.
Right.
One of the biggest intersections between like camping and an AI I see is like digital nomads. Now you can get the Starlink
Right.
and live out of
Yeah,
your
so cool.
van and have run a business. That's one of the coolest trends I see is if if rather than technology pulling us away from nature, empower us to go engage with nature.
Yeah.
I think that's the direction we need to go.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to be a digital nomad and just tour camping. So it doesn't take much. If
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
you're
A few bucks.
not
I
too
mean,
much.
yeah.
No.
Gas and, you know,
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
food.
my son loves to camp and he, does it super cheap. And so he's able to get away and engage and, very low budget. I call him, he's not a frugal camper. He's the cheapskate traveler.
yeah,
That Landry, CTO of Attention Live, that's his life right now. He
Yeah, he's in a
lives
trailer.
lives in a trailer with
He's
his
got a whole
and
family.
travels around
4 of
the
them.
country.
they love it. They don't want to stop. They just want to live in the trailer.
Yeah.
And that's what they have. So what you need to be a digital nomad, a camping digital nomad, is you need Starlink. That'll, at least that's my primary recommendation for internet connection. You need good hardware, good operating systems, whether you're Apple or Android or PC. And then you need to have a client base or a co-working base or a employer that understands some of the potential hangups and things of that nature. So there are things that will come up, in terms of hurdles, but like the young friend that you brought with us a couple weeks ago on the show, Ben, his parents, they basically lived at Fernwood Campsite in Big Sur, and they did all their work just from the campsite.
Sweet.
That was during COVID, so it was a different time, obviously.
Yeah.
So again, that's
he
because
would wake up in the morning, walk up to the main like lounge area they have at their campsite, and then do his schoolwork, and then come back down and live at the campsite.
Right.
Like, what a cool. I feel like COVID really had some massive ways that were tough for a lot of people, but in so many ways, that uniqueness of the
It forced
Take-
adaptation.
taking away that
a little quicker.
that normal socialness that humans always have made these really interesting opportunities that just will likely never happen again.
Well, thank you for joining us for the segment on AI. We'll be back again in a moment to talk about blockchain presently. I think there's a lot of interesting things to cover. This is 1340 AM, KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio. Be back in a moment.
Sweet, y'all. Sweet.
Okay,
Yes.
so we're still live on the internet. Hello, internet.
Hi.
I'll get back into the flow of getting things dialed in very soon. A little rusty right now. Ted, I need you to move that off so I can put this thing up there.
Yes, sir.
Please.
Bum, 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 bum,
Yes, honey. You just put inside that thing right now.
And today serve clients throughout
Sandman.
California.
You want to raise it up higher?
No job is too big.
Yeah, why is that?
724-577.
Yes.
Hi, folks. We're not sure if Knox Roofing or the Knox Box Company. I thought I'd ask you a few questions. What's the largest tree?
How does that look?
What's the longest river? The Nile. What's the
It's
tallest
off.
Mount Everest? What's the
The audio's
tallest
off.
person in the world today?
Oh, what you're hearing now?
I'm gonna turn that
A
off.
little
Yeah,
under so
What's
you
the
know what's
oldest
going on.
person
yeah, I did that
alive
so
today?
I know because I didn't know I was going live a second ago.
Folks, what's the best
Yeah,
roofing
it's just
company in the area with great service, lowest prices,
Are we
superb
still live?
workmanship?
Well, we're live on the internet.
financing options?
Yeah,
We are live. Hello, internet.
And we're gonna switch things up before too long, where I will basically go live multiple times so that the videos are not so long.
Yeah.
But for right now, I really need to figure out.
How are you gonna talk about
I need to figure out how to use this thing, because then the audio from the radio will go right into it. But I think
What is that called right there? Is that a separator
Yeah,
or is it?
it's
It's
the
an
number one
audio.
option. It basically takes the audio from this radio into here and then mixes it so it will be read by the MacBook Pro for StreamYard.
Do you want to use these headphones?
Why? Why not?
Because you could easily use them.
Yeah, hand them to Ted then. Let Ted try them out. Because we got to decide which
Yeah,
one.
these
Because
headphones.
Pet's got the nice.
So
Those ones are good.
I already know how to do it for you.
we're trying some new headphones out, Internet. Trying out these.
Those are Dan Thompson
These are
770s.
the DTs.
Yeah.
From Very Dynamic. We got a pair of Sonys and a pair of
Where'd you get this from?
And then I give you these.
Where'd you get this from, bro?
Amazon.
Wow.
So I thought we'd try them out for. We'll switch them up.
What would we be doing with my DSLR camera if I brought it? I don't have it, but had I had one.
We'll set it up instead of that.
Well, why don't you set this up instead of that?
Here we are, everybody.
That's
that
the
time
1080.
again.
Internet, thanks for being here with us.
Yeah.
Couple speed bumps. Working it right through. A lot of people.
Welcome back to Beachside Tech Talk. My name is Ian Utilli. I'm here with Ted, Dan, Malachi, and Nigel. And this is a 1 hour weekday program here at 1340 AM, KOMY, out of Monterey Bay, Santa Cruz County. And it's the home of Schoolhouse Radio. And so it's a nonprofit local community radio station. It's fun to be able to come on here and be able to share with everyone. We also live broadcast to the internet for those that are not local and still want to tune in. And during this segment, we like to talk about what's happening today with blockchain. Dan, you had just mentioned the idea of different coffee shops and different retail stores leveraging digital tokens and moving from membership cards or coupons over to digital tokens. One of the advantages to using tokens is the ability to have a connection between the business and the client in a wallet that's not dependent on somebody's ISP. It's not dependent on an email system. It's not dependent on social media. There's no broker or middleman between the organization and their client. And so that is one more reason why this technology is for sure inevitable.
Yeah. It's awesome. That's the DeFi you're talking about.
That's right.
That's exactly what it is. Tokenizing, putting it on the blockchain, making it more personal. And then by the digitization of it, you don't have to worry about where is that. And
Right.
even if you lose your device, don't worry, it's still there. Get your new device, upload again, download your wallet again, open the app, and
Just
voila,
don't forget
still
your
there.
passcode, your zillion phrase passcode.
It's 12 words. It's not that complicated. You write it down, put it in a safe.
Right.
We shouldn't overthink it, because people have always had a hard time adapting to change, but it certainly is in people's best interest to have control over all of their assets.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already been prepared for this. So if you look at any iPhone, Android phone, or whatnot, there is a digital wallet. So we no longer feel the pressure to go print out boarding plane tickets. We often just have it on our digital wallet. We don't feel the pressure to have physical credit cards with us any longer. You just have your debit cards, credit cards inside of your digital wallet, and you just go tap a screen. And so we've already, society has slowly gotten prepared for the ability to be used to using digital means to use things like currency or access to things like tickets, or we'll be using these for receipts. We'll be using and again, almost everything we do is all digital. There's very little physical aspects nowadays for things like coupons, receipts, boarding passes, ticket entrances. Sometimes there is, but there's not a lot of demand for it, just like there's not a lot of demand for cash-only businesses. So things have shifted quite a bit over time.
All of those things you just said, coupons, receipts, rebates, those have been turned into utilities. Instead of that, those names are becoming utilities that you can use them, save up on a rewards program, be more engaged with your community. These things also, they launch onto social sites as you can engage more, maybe such as like a beach cleanup or a beach fun day or something where you're trying to get more people involved at the moment. Like you just decided you're going to do it today.
Right.
In the next couple of hours, all of a sudden you have 20 people, with you mixing it up. Crazy thing I was thinking of a second ago is, as you were saying, that the evolving blockchain, notice people how much of our currency is being pushed to also digital coins for our CDCs and USDTs and those type of things. So there actually are banking systems are backing these Web3 platforms, applications, to exchange and exchange your crypto for fiat currency. And I think the amount of ways of doing it now is becoming so used. You're seeing that people are actually engaging.
When we were doing our research.
Go ahead, Nigel.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nigel.
When we were doing our research over the last couple of weeks, two of the most interesting usage that I came across, with blockchain was one, using it to credit people for serving Thanksgiving dinners at a volunteer basis. I thought that was a fascinating use of it. And then another one was to credential physicians that were volunteering during an emergency. So, and it sped up the credentialing process from 2 days to like 2 hours. And
Right.
I think those are the more practical for sure, but more positive ways of dealing with it. But again, it comes back to trust and the accountability. I feel. I think that if we have these items on the blockchain and there's a person tied to it, it just makes it a lot easier for people to trust. At least it would be for me. So one of the interesting comments that came up as Danny and I were doing our show was talking about putting a dollar sign in terms of how much money you would make
Next to the
based on a
candidate.
politician. Yeah, for a
I had a
candidate.
crazy idea
Yeah.
of a new presidency candidate electoral thing.
Yeah.
Kind of get rid of the electoral college or hybrid it, and create a DAO for every state.
Okay, explain.
Okay, so our voting elections are based on an electoral college, and it's based on population. For example, North Dakota is one of the least populated states of the 50. So they get, I'm not, don't vote me on the number. I'm just going to guess and say, let's say they have 16 electoral votes when it comes to the election of the president. California has like 278 because it's based on population. It's fair because of population basis, but it becomes somewhat biased in the sense that California compared to North Dakota has, a 20x of power and empowerment, but still it's 1 in 50 of the states. The point I was trying to get to is if each state had a decentralized autonomous organization that's completely transparent, that any candidate that's there next to their name when you go to vote is going to be a dollar sign or what they stand for right there. These politicians that go and have discussions or meetings, they're behind closed doors. Cameras need to be inside those rooms, and everything needs to be open source documented. So you have the record of it. So you hear what was actually being said, not said, why we're coming back to repeat discussions on a certain bill, or you'll be able to visually, transparently see what's actually being said behind these such closed doors. And then I feel that having a 50 DAO system, actually, you can use the population as it needs to, but the state still carries a section of, a 1 per segment vote for that state, and then population gets to come into it also, gets to kind of tie in. I'm just thinking for transparency, and then like Nigel was saying, you put a dollar sign next to the candidate, they're going to really stand behind what they're saying or what they're doing. Because
What do you mean by put a dollar sign? What is it valuing?
Well, how much money you would be making. So candidate
Right.
A, you're going to make 40,000 or keep 40,000. Candidate B, you're going to keep 200,000. Starts to put some numbers next to it, and
the voter is going to keep, or as in the candidate?
Yeah, the voters. Yeah, you, the actual citizen. What does this mean? What does this candidate's voting record and everything they do? What does that mean to my wallet? Dollar number, dollar figure.
It's hard to put that into one number though, because
AI is amazing.
Like all that different stuff.
I think it'd be amazing just to have it to where it shows how much money has been put into wars because of their votes. Like that would be very, very powerful.
So many things could be just opening it up like that, having things be open source, the behind the closed doors discussions.
What we need is transparency. We need immutability. We need things that can't be changed.
So things go onto a block, and
right.
we can at any time we want to, hey, did you know that we had a local meeting for your local library, whether it's going to be shut down or not? No, I did not. I missed that meeting. Well, the voting's coming up on it in 2 weeks from now. Oh, well, great. Boom, bing, link to the meeting, what happened there. If you want to listen to the whole hour and 15 minutes, cool. And if you don't want to, there's transcripts there. You can read, you can pop the whole transcript into AI, an hour and 15-minute conversation. Ask the AI to give you the summary points, the bullet points, break this down into a dummy layman's terms for me in a 15-minute perfect comprehensive.
You can even ask it where it thinks you should vote. I mean, the whole idea of transparency is so useful. I mean, it's weird how humans somehow, along the line of governments and however everything has gotten to this point, we've said, okay, well, in this case, it's okay to lie to our citizens. Whatever case that was, whether it was war or something, it became okay in some certain area to lie to the citizens.
What you mean is the CIA and the FBI, they decided it was okay internally to do things like lie to citizens or assassinate or attempt to assassinate
Dark
officials.
ops.
That's right.
Those things.
They say in their mind, or they say
those things
internally,
will always
okay,
exist
even though it's
because
not.
you just kind of have people who are so brutally one way, where the violence and physicality comes into the situation. So what do you do for these complete extremists? But to the point you're saying, the transparency, it opens up to less anxiety. The more we know, we choose to know what we want to know. Not
informed decision
there.
making.
Right. Not it's not there, and how can I find it? That gets me a little, that creates panic. I don't know what's really being said, or I don't know what my particular candidate that I lean to and who I like. I'm not following their last year of what their track record was for that year. Where did the dollars go that came to them? Where was it put into place? Or was it put back into a bunch of lobbying to support those big major investors?
Right now, our laws are basically written by lobbyists.
That's what I'm saying. With transparency, those things will kind of shortly, inevitably by themselves go away. Badness can't live in a world of clear vision. It's impossible. They don't go together. They can't live together.
Well, that's always been the premise for why the blockchain, distributed ledgers, Web3, crypto, that's always been the premise why it matters. It matters because it decentralizes the power away from big institutions, big governments, 100%. Big banks. And it all started really, it really got, traction with Satoshi's white paper. And that was through Bitcoin, which was a response to the 2008 financial crisis meltdown.
Right.
How can we as individuals okay, I'll wait till the last one.
Well, thank you for joining us here at Beachside Tech Talk.
That went quick.
1340 a.m. Home of Schoolhouse Radio. We'll be back again for our last segment in just a moment. Thank you for being with us.
Blockchain, that was a good one. That one was good.
Yeah.
Very good.
What's our next segment?
Like the past.
The last segment is like stories, history, past stories.
I wanted to ask, how are we as each citizen able to push to the end goal of humanity being transparent and government being transparent?
You can't push government to do anything.
Keep talking about it.
What can I do? What can each citizen do?
Choosing to use decentralized technologies and automation technologies, that helps.
I think leaning into your citizenry is going to be huge, because again, think about this. You go to a voting booth and you hear things like vote the party line.
Okay,
that's based on no data. Yeah. That's based on no data. You have a number or some sort of information that's affiliated with that candidate. It's more. That alone is a step in the right direction. It's not a big one. And the funny thing is, I feel like this is the other edge of the sword, because we are in a lot of ways looked at as products, dollar signs, and all these other things. Why shouldn't the shoe be on the other foot as well? Because I'm going to make a much faster decision if I see my check 30% lighter with candidate A versus candidate B. It's definitely going to have an 100%. Impact. And
that's what we're talking about. I may not have framed it perfectly right. I was trying to speed through it, so I'm going to take up a bunch of time.
But the challenge is that number going to be verifiable? Is that number going to be based
100%? It's AI. This is where I feel like lean into.
That's such an assumption. We've been saying that over and over. The printing press was supposed to make truth more decentralized. We just figured out a different way of lying with it. Radio was supposed to make truth. Became a tool of propaganda. So we've had AI. We've had AI curating our narrative of the world for many years already.
Where's your culture lean? You want honesty and transparency? We'll figure it out.
We'll get there.
Welcome back to Beachside Tech Talk here at 1340 a.m. home of Schoolhouse Radio at KOMY. We're based out of Salva Beach, California. And my name's Ian Utilli. I'm here with my son Malachi, my brother Dan, two of my business partners, Nigel and Ted. We like to take the last segment and talk about stories, maybe something from history that we can learn from. And during our break, the printing press just came up. So the Gutenberg type form printing press was a revolutionary innovation. From what I understand, the goal behind it was to decentralize communications. And one of the premises was that they could make the sacred scriptures more easily available to the common man. Old printing presses, basically, there was a page and then that's it. It's just you go and you stamp it with ink over and over again. The typeform printing press allowed them to move things around, which is what became a big deal. So for Ted, Dan, and Nigel, do you guys have any background or do you know any of the story about how the Gutenberg printing press was created, why it was created, what we've gained from it? Any things you guys would like to jump in on?
Well, one of the stories I just heard, and I had brought it up at the break, that these problems of transparency and truth and all that are not easy to solve. And if we assume they are and they're just going to be solved, I think we're going to repeat what we did before. So the printing press, definitely, like the Reformation, the Enlightenment, and the printing press were tied together. And it allowed for ideas to be disseminated like never before. It really moved us from an oral first society to a written first as a major transition that, we have a hard time imagining what it was like before that. But also, it also empowered witch hunts. And it was propaganda that demonized witches, and the printing press that disseminated these ideas. Prior to the printing press, no one was out there killing witches. And it was the printing press that empowered this very dark, toxic thing. So it's like everything's mixed.
What about the fact that the trust of it, the fact that you're putting something together on a press, so once that verbiage is set into place, that's it. It starts being pressed and printed. You can know and trust that not a letter is being changed, that this press is being copied, and everything that people are getting, whatever the run is, let's say it's 1,000, that it's exact, that it's trustworthy, and that no one's messing around with that press, because if people are trusting that newspaper article or whatever is being printed, the trust verification is backed by the value of the press itself, because only one person can actually change that print, would be the person installing the what are they called, the numbers or the cartridges or whatever.
Right.
So I think
That's a fantastic. Sorry.
Yeah, the trust value is there. It's built in there. I thought that was kind of unique.
Go ahead, Nigel.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point. And what I was thinking about, blockchain and Web3 and having a face to what it is. I think that, we accept these positions, and I think there's an accountability that comes with it, but that transparency of what your net what happens under your watch, that's not really something that's ambiguous. If I made less money under your watch as a politician, that's just what it is. Like, people may want the nuance of, well, you made less because of this and that. It doesn't matter. I have 50% less money to buy groceries. That is going to impact my life. And I think that we're using it can't go both. It has to go both ways. People are dealing with less. They don't have, certain things. How do we make it better? And I think when you shine a light on it, now it's like, oh, Nigel, you're responsible for that. You have to own that. I have to go and say to somebody, hey, Danny, Ian, you're going to make 50% less because of this thing that I'm doing, and I have to own that. And other people have to make a decision. Do I want to go down that road or do I not? And now it becomes informed decision-making and us leaning into asking that question. How did we come to this conclusion? It may not change anything. It may not change our decision. But if we're making decisions based on information that we have versus don't have, vote the party line is not a number next to someone's name based on a specific thing. It's very different.
What is, because we're talking about transparency right now and how, as it said before, humans repeat themselves in history. And how can we make sure that with AI, this new medium of being able to communicate, how can we make sure that we don't repeat the mistransparency the way that we have with printing press and radio, like you were saying earlier, Ted? How can we make it so AI is going to be different?
First, I think we have the discussion like right now. I think that opens the discussion up to the table, because it puts it in our mind even the thought of, oh, maybe we need to tighten the belt here, loosen it up there, kind of builds how we build the system. But to answer your question, from my opinion, I think it's a work in progress because everything's so new and it's constantly.
What do you think, Dan?
I think that when we discovered fire as humans, we asked ourselves, how do we be better humans now that we have fire? When we had the industrial age 100 years ago, okay, now that we are manufacturing stuff at this scale, how do we make sure that we don't do the things our ancestors did? So I don't believe in a utopic future because I don't think that humans are set toward utopia. I think that we have the mind of a god and the body of an animal. Makes life as a human quite complicated. The journey is full of a lot of pain for each and every individual, and a lot of confusion, a lot of misunderstanding. And so I don't really foresee that AI is going to fix humanity. What I do think is going to happen is that the future of automation, whether it be AI or blockchain, will end up becoming very boring, very peaceful, and that we will likely head toward more of an anti-dystopic future. So people are afraid of a dystopic future, one where the AI becomes our overlords, or blockchain only, harms people, or AI, gives people the wrong information. Our newsfeed is full of fake news or whatever. So I don't really think that's the end result of this technology. I think the end result of this technology is that humans get to do what we're best at. Teaching, learning, being in community, promoting things, and that AI and automation tools will end up doing a lot of the things that we're currently wasting our time doing because they need to be done. As far as how do we protect ourselves from what's happened in the past, I think it has a lot more to do with culture than technology. For instance, if you look at the culture of socialist or communist countries, if you look at the culture of fully centralized countries where dictatorship is a foregone conclusion. Now you can look at places like Venezuela, which I believe they had the fourth most exciting economy before things took hold. And then you look fast forward 15 years and it's wow, what a crazy transformation that country went through. Why? Because of culture, not because of technology. It's because of belief, because of the lack of nobility. So this is a lot of what people need to be mindful of. It's not how do we use AI to do more noble things. It is how do we build a more noble culture. So Ted,
how do we build a more noble culture?
Well, Ted, you're the chief of ethics at our company. This is a lot of what you focus on is building the right culture, doing noble, valiant things. So what is your thought on how can a community build a noble culture, regardless of the technology that's available to them?
I think one, we need more humility. And then two, it's learning. I think the magic formula is an optimism combined with a realism. We need to have an optimism in the final outcome, but very realistic at the challenges we're facing. And the solution to corruption is transparency, but we also have to care for one another. Otherwise, we have a dollar sign and everyone's voting for their best interests. Is that necessarily the right outcome we want, or do we want a dollar sign that shows this is actually going to improve the society? And is this going to help the least of these amongst us? So I think intentionality, humility, and also relationships. We've got to respect one another and create a context where we have not just free speech, but responsible speech, where we care for one another and we listen. And we have that growth mentality where I want to listen with others that are from a different perspective. And if we have that community and we're aligned together with that objective, I think that's the magic formula. And that's where we see communities and societies create wonderful, beautiful things together and create human flourishing that's for everyone.
Go ahead, Nigel. Why don't you wrap us up?
I think the capstone that in a nice tidy package, at least I think so, is to just ask ourselves, are we living to our potential of the best that we can actually do? Because at that point, the intentionality is there. It's not about the number or a figure or a fact or whatever the case may be. What are we going to do with it? Don't lose sight of what the ultimate prize is, like you said, Ted, to just be better humans. Are we using this to the best of our ability to do good or not? that becomes a binary thing. And it's a hard question when you ask yourself, am I doing good enough, or am I doing better than the other person, versus am I living to my potential?
Yeah,
Very
that's
different.
the key. We definitely don't want to be looking at other people and comparing ourselves and thinking less of ourselves or thinking more of ourselves than we should. We should be asking ourselves the simple question of, with what I have, my talents, my abilities, the technology that's available to me, my network, am I doing the best I'm capable of doing today? And can I be a little bit better tomorrow or the next moment? If everybody did this exact same thing that Nigel's talking about, then we'd be in a much more significant culture. So I think that is, really important for us to be mindful of. I shared something at the event in New York, which I'll leave everybody with right now, and that was the purpose that you find in your life often is found in your people. And your people is the community. For instance, Ted has found purpose in the people at San Quentin, where he plays basketball for the last 18 years. Malachi has found purpose in his people at school or at the climbing gym. And so when you find the people that you belong to and that belong to you, you end up finding your purpose. And that is really important, regardless of the technology that we have on our hands. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time.
Nice.
All right, Internet. Thanks for being with us.
Sweet.
Look forward to being back with you again tomorrow. And we'll be a bit more organized and likely start on time at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Eastern. Nigel, you can stay on. We'll chit chat for a moment. I'm just going to end the live stream for everybody. Bye, everybody.